If your abs aren't showing after doing tons of crunches and eating clean, it can be very discouraging. Being stuck at this in-between phase where you have a slim waist but either no abs or just a faint outline of the top two abs is actually a very common problem, but by fixing the issues that are preventing you from seeing your abs, you can quickly start making progress towards a more defined looking midsection with abs that clearly show. So let's start with the most obvious issue, which is body fat percentage. The amount of fat you have on your body will play one of the biggest impacts on how visible your abs are. Unfortunately, the belly area is one of the last spots to drop fat, so you'll see fat reduction from your face, hands, and arms long before you see it coming off of your stomach. The key is to be consistent with your diet and to stick to a calorie deficit made up of healthy single ingredient foods for long enough for the fat to start coming off the areas close to your center of mass. No matter how hard you work your abs, if you have a layer of fat covering them, your abs are just not going to show. Now, you might have been told to get your body fat percentage under 12% as a man to see your abs, but this exact measurement strategy is flawed. Some men will start seeing well-defined abs at 14% and higher, and others will have to cut more body fat to see their abs. This is due to the fact that different people have different bodies that have different preferential fat storage patterns. So if your body loves to store and retain fat specifically around the midsection, you'll have to cut down further than someone who primarily stores fat around their hips. The solution to this is to once again stay consistent with reducing calories by eating healthy, low-calorie dense foods like lean sources of protein, vegetables, and fruits for long enough until your body fat percentage is low enough to have those abs pop out more. Now, if your diet is good and you're starting to get lean, you could be making many different mistakes during your workouts that are preventing you and your abs from growing properly. For example, one of the biggest issues I see with ab workouts is that most people don't use enough weight to train their abs, and instead they perform way too many reps. This belief that you should train your abs with high reps stems from the false idea that they're primarily slow twitch fiber dominant. And the best way to stimulate slow twitch fibers is with a lot of reps. Well, it turns out, first of all, research shows that you'll build more muscle when you train with a variety of reps instead of always using the same number. Second, studies show that the abdominal muscles have a balanced muscle profile of around 55 to 58% slow twitch fibers, while the other almost half of the fibers are fast twitch. This is why it's especially beneficial to use a variety of rep ranges instead of only doing high reps. For example, you could do 4 sets of heavy decline sit-ups for 6 to 10 reps, and once you're done, you can do hanging leg raises for 3 sets of 15 to 20 reps. You can also superset the two, starting with your heavy set for 6 to 10 reps, and then immediately finishing off with a lighter set of 15 to 20 reps. Not using heavy weight and not focusing on upping the weight load used over time tends to be the bigger issue. There's no better surefire way to know that you're properly progressively overloading your abs than moving up from using a 35-pound weight on decline sit-ups for 10 reps to a 50-pound weight for those same 10 reps. The issue with high reps in general is that most people rarely take those sets to failure. That failure would be guaranteed if you just bumped the weight up every time you completed a set of 10 reps, but if you're focusing on more reps, true failure becomes more difficult to objectively measure. And if you don't hit failure with your high rep sets, many studies show that high rep training becomes less effective than training with low or moderate reps. So personally, I recommend you concentrate primarily on upping the weight load that you use over time and then sprinkling in some high rep supersets that have you hit failure within the first 20 reps. Another issue that many people run into is believing that doing compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, and chin-ups are enough to develop the ab muscles. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. If you want more defined and developed abs, you'll have to do direct ab exercises. In fact, if you're beyond the beginner phase, it's unlikely that compound exercises will develop your abs any further than where they're at currently. This is because the majority of compound exercises, including squats and deadlifts, do not effectively engage the abdominal muscles. From a physiological perspective, it's easy to understand this because the lumbar spine neither flexes nor rotates during these movements. We have proof of this from a study that examined muscle activity levels during various exercises, including the back squat, which showed that while participants performed the back squat with a very heavy weight load that they were only able to perform 3 reps with, their abdominal muscle activation barely reached 20% of maximum voluntary contraction. On the other hand, the straight leg sit-up activated the external obliques and the rectus abdominis at around 40%, more than twice the activation elicited by the squat. The clean and jerk exercise also revealed low core activity levels for the rectus abdominis, internal obliques, and external obliques. So if you want to maximally develop your abs, make sure to include isolation exercises into your workout routine. The next issue could be that you're focused too much on static ab exercises. Exercises like planks, for example, are great from a core stability perspective. They're also great at developing deep tissue abdominal muscles like the transverse abdominis, and they can help you prevent lower back injuries. But only doing planks and other static ab exercises is not all that great for building well-developed abs for a few reasons. First, research shows that both the eccentric and the concentric phases offer many benefits that you simply don't get from static or isometric movements. For example, there's data that shows that you can produce 2 times more force during an eccentric contraction and 50% more during a concentric contraction than during isometric ones. So to put it simply, you can overload your muscles to a greater extent with dynamic exercises, leading to a more powerful muscle building stimulus. On top of that, the eccentric and the concentric phases stimulate distinct anabolic cell signaling pathways, which you don't fully stimulate with isometric exercises. The bottom line is that for ab development, it's better to focus on dynamic exercises like decline sit-ups, leg raises, stability ball crunches, rope crunches, dumbbell side bends, and sit-ups. Next is the possibility that your abs are underdeveloped because you're not training through a full range of motion. As I've mentioned multiple times, training a muscle through a full range of motion is better for muscle growth compared to only doing partial reps. Sure, you can lift more weight if you do a quarter squat rather than a full squat, and you can bench more if you lower the bar only a few inches instead of going all the way down. But the goal isn't to boost your ego, but rather to make progress. And to achieve that, it's best to train through a full range of motion, as shown by many studies. This also applies to your abdominal muscles. To maximize your results, it's important that you include exercises in your workout routine that train your abs through a full range of motion. For example, even though regular crunches are a great exercise, there's no denying that the range of motion during a crunch is limited because the floor prevents you from extending your back fully during the eccentric phase. One way you can overcome this is by doing crunches on a stability ball or decline bench. Both allow you to lower your upper body further down, creating a stretch on your abs, giving you a larger range of motion. Another mistake that could be preventing you from seeing your abs is that you're treating your abs as an afterthought. For example, if you train your abs after you've completed the rest of your workout, that's most likely interfering with your abdominal muscle building results. Research clearly indicates that the muscle groups that you train first in your workout, you'll make better progress with than those that you train towards the end. With that said, keep in mind that your abs contain crucial stabilizer muscles that are required during many compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses. So you don't want to exhaust your abs directly before performing heavy deadlifts or squats because that'll highly increase the chances of getting a lower back injury. So instead, I recommend you have an ab-specific day, or that you combine your ab exercises with arm exercises that train your biceps, triceps, and shoulders. These require far less stabilization of the spine, but still, ideally, if you really want to develop the muscles in your abs, you'll set aside an ab-specific day to really target and break down your ab muscles. Moving on, another issue can be that you're not using the mind-muscle connection during your workouts. This leads to the common problem of having your hip flexors take over the movement. One solution for this is to focus on the specific muscle or muscle group when performing an exercise, which in this case would be your abs. Contrary to popular belief, this concept of a mind-muscle connection is not a myth, as there is scientific evidence that supports that focusing on the mind-muscle connection can increase muscle activation. For example, in a study published in the European Journal of Sports Science, researchers found that focusing on the targeted muscles during resistance training led to increased muscle activation as measured by electromyography. So when doing ab exercises, try your best to focus on your abs as much as possible instead of just lifting the weight. Finally, the last thing that could be preventing you from building the abs that'll show is that you're selecting poor ab exercises. This mostly is tied to the fact that your abs contain many muscles, and each of them need to be trained for a well-developed core. To be able to do that effectively, it's important that you have at least somewhat of an understanding of your abdominal anatomy. So first we have the rectus abdominis, which is the muscle that's responsible for creating that six-pack look. This muscle's main function is to flex the spine. An example of this is bending your trunk forward as you do crunches. You also train this muscle to a lesser extent with static exercises like the plank or ab wheel rollout, since it's the muscle contracting that's preventing you and your hips from dropping down. But like I mentioned earlier, it's best to train this muscle with dynamic exercises like stability ball crunches, decline sit-ups, cable crunches, and leg raise variations. Another muscle that helps outline the V-cut along the bottom of your abs is the external and internal obliques. These play a crucial role in trunk rotation, lateral flexion, and overall core stability. Two great exercises to target your obliques include Russian twists and cable wood chops. And lastly, we have the transverse abdominis, which can be found underneath the internal obliques. This is a thin sheet of muscle that's essential for stabilizing the core. That's why you activate this muscle during almost all movements, especially static ones like the plank. You can effectively train this muscle with exercises like ab wheel rollouts and plank variations. In general, the point is that it's important that you give all these abdominal muscles sufficient attention to build a well-developed physique, especially around your midsection. So that about wraps it up. I really hope this video has helped you find some of the issues that could be preventing you from seeing your abs. If it has, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and remember that body fat is one of the biggest parts of the equation. If you have too much body fat, you simply won't be able to see your abs no matter how developed the abs get. So if you'd like a streamlined approach to dropping 20 pounds or 5% of your body fat in the next 6 weeks, check out my free 6-week shred. It'll come with a personalized meal plan, a recipe book, and a workout plan that includes a full ab workout plan, and of course, a coach will be there to answer any questions and guide you through the entire process. To find out more, you can click the link below in the description, or you can visit my website directly at gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon.